very poor sense of humor. Okay, so interval notation. Listen, interval notation is not difficult, but it's so important that it's done a specific way. Every single lesson almost, or that's kind of exaggerating, guys in the back, most of the lessons we do in this class might have interval notation in it. So that's why I'm starting with this. I want you guys to understand this column, the third column here I'm calling it, is everything. This is what I want you guys to focus on. This is all that would be on our quiz next week. The first one, I'm going to go over it all. I'm not going to quiz or test you on how to write it in words. I'm not quizzing you on a number line, obviously not set builder. But this column is so important. When we start the pre-calc actual notes next Friday, right away the first example has interval notation in it. Not how do you do it, but you answer the question in interval notation. So you have to know how to do it. Let's get that out of the way today. Let's leave here today feeling confident. I understand that, so when she throws some other information at me, I'm not stressed about this, okay? So let's just talk about what these four columns are. Word, set builder, interval, and number line. It's four different ways of stating information about a graph, a solution, whatever. It's an answer to a question. What part of the graph is increasing? What interval? What piece, part? And notation is just how we do it. It's a language. That is telling me a whole bunch of information just by the symbols, okay? So let's talk about these symbols. So looking at this first one, real numbers, and by the way, it's going to say real numbers for every single one. After that, I don't write that out anymore. I just put RN, so you don't have to write. I'm all about abbreviations, by the way. Interval notation, I write like IN, because it just gets to be too long. But anyway, real numbers less than or equal to 2. Well, all of you know what that means. Let's jump to the graph. On the number line, we're at 2, and we want all the numbers less than that. I think you guys could put the first and the fourth column together, right? That makes sense. Let's talk about this equal to or included and not included notation that you're going to start seeing. So let me start with this first word. So just find a space to kind of do your notes. The word included, you might also hear like equal to. It means it's part of the solution set. There's several different ways we would show that in the various types of notation. For example, if it's included, look on the number line, it's going to have a closed-in solid circle. That means that number is part of the solution, 2, and all the numbers less than it, okay? We also could see a less than or equal to, or a greater than or equal to. So when it has that equal to symbol under it, you would know it's going to be a closed-in circle. For interval notation, we would use, does anybody know? Brackets. They're called brackets. They're like the square parts. So those are the symbols that you will see for when that number is part of the answer that you're answering, okay? Now let me give you the other set of notes for this, and then I'll go back to these problems. When it's not included, so not equal to if you want to write that, sometimes we might want all the numbers, like this next one, real numbers greater than -3. We're going to have an open circle on the 3. It's not including it. -3 is not part of the answer, but all the numbers greater than or to the right are part of it. So why don't we just say then greater than -2? Why do I put an open circle on -3 versus just like jumping to -2 and put a closed circle? Why don't I do that? Does anybody know? Why can't I do this instead? Look at it. Visually, you should be able to answer that question. I'm leaving off the numbers between -3 and -2. There's some numbers in there included the way they did it versus the way I did it. Okay? So that's why we have open circles and closed circles. So open circle means it does not have the equal to symbol underneath it. And we use parentheses when it's not part of it with the interval notation. Super, super important. Also really important is for negative infinity, which is to the left left of a number, so to the left, number is less than a number, and positive infinity, always use parentheses, never brackets. Okay? So let's look at a couple of these. So in that first one, it was equal to. So on the 2, we had a bracket. It didn't say equal to on this one. So if it doesn't say it, by default, it's not. Okay, so that's why there's a bracket. On our infinity symbols, always parentheses. Okay? Look at this one. Real numbers from -3 through 2. So I would read that right away. I'd go -3, 2. Right? Least to greatest. We'll talk about that. With 2 not included. So since I'm specifying that 2 is not included, that would be parentheses. And by default, since it said 1 was one way and didn't say anything about the other, we would call that included. Look at your graph. We have a closed-in circle because it's included on the -3, hello, and an open circle on the 2 because it's not included. So it's all those numbers in between. Notice -3 to 2. -3 has the bracket, 2 has the parentheses. Let's add a piece of notes I meant to add. Find a spot. With interval notation, order. This is one piece that Ms. Shackton and I disagree on. She told me that this year, to make me happy, this past year, she told her students she was not going to mark it wrong if you changed your order, but that I would be picky about it. And she's right. I am picky about it. When you do your interval notation, the order you write them in is really important. And maybe you're picking up on it. It's always going to be least to greatest. Guys, think about how you read a book. You open it. You never start at the back and go backwards, right? We open it and we turn our pages left to right. We read sentences. Your eyes immediately go left to right. We read graphs, number lines, interval notation. We read everything left to right in math, okay? So you will always have smaller to bigger, no matter how it's given to you any other way. That is super important, okay? So, real numbers between -4 and 1. So there's my -4 and 1, order of least to greatest. And it says with 1 included. So 1's got the bracket. The other one didn't say either way. So what's going to be the other one? Open circle, closed circle. Okay. And the last one I'm going to talk about has this fun symbol here. Real numbers less than -1 or greater than 4. Look at the graph. It's got -1 and 4. It didn't say included, so it's not. That's why they both have a open circle. We want numbers less than -1, so that would be going to the left. It's an arrow because it goes on forever, right? That just means forever and ever to negative infinity. Negative infinity to -1, we read it left to right. So negative infinity to -1. Then we don't use any of these numbers, or 4, or to the right, greater. So this symbol in between, does anybody know what that symbol means? I heard someone say union. It's the union symbol. We can also say the word or. So you could say out loud or whatever, but we just use the union symbol. It means this or this. Our answer could be anywhere over here and anywhere over here. Guys, this is so important that you understand this, okay? It's really important to get comfortable, and it's going to take some getting used to, especially when we start next week with we're going to be looking at graphs and analyzing them and pulling information off of it. And we have to be able to say what's happening. It's going to be pieces of a graph. It might be all like wobbly and up and down and curvy, and then there's a straight part. You have to be able to look at it from left to right, what is happening up until like this number, okay? And you always have to look at a graph. Your eyes have to go left to right. It's easy to kind of jump around, and I'm going to be helping you guys with that. So let's get used to this left to right business with the interval notation, okay? So let me just help you get started. Then I'll put the key up and I'll come around and help. I never want you guys to feel like you can't. I mean, I want to help you. You're not bothering me, okay? And I will have the key up here in a minute so you can work and check. If you're not getting it right, have me come help you, okay? That's what I get paid the big bucks for. All right, so you're going to come down here and you're going to see what information they give you. So in this first one, all they gave us was this. We're going to fill in the other boxes. So we need to translate it. Now, let me just be clear, though. On a quiz or a test or anything, I'm not going to ever ask you for the first column. I don't want you stressing about the words too much. There's more than one way that you could write a lot of these. I really want to make sure you understand the interval notation and, of course, number lines, okay? So looking at this first one, they're saying x is less than or equal to -4. Start with whatever one you want. I might start writing the words, okay? Real numbers less than -4 included. Could I have said less than or equal to -4? Sure. Don't care. Okay? They use included, not included. You could say equal to or leave that part off. So think about left to right. Less than -4. Okay? So think of your number line. Maybe it's easier for you to come over to the number line. And don't feel like you have to write out those numbers. I always put 0 on my number line, and then I just estimate. Where's -4? Okay, that's right there. You don't need to fill in all those spaces. No busy work. Some of you will because you're perfectionists, but you don't need to. Okay, so we want all the numbers less than or equal to, including, okay, -4. So I'm going to have a colored in circle at -4, and I want the numbers less than that. That's to the left. Right? The numbers left. So read that graph left to right. That's from -infinity to -4, right? Least to greatest. I always put parentheses on infinity and -infinity, no matter what's happening with the other number. They each get their own symbol, right? They can mix them up. And since we're including it, there's an equal to sign or a colored in circle. That's a bracket. Okay? Least to greatest. It will be wrong if it's not, my dears. Okay? So I have a key to this. I will be uploading it to Canvas in case you don't get done in class. You probably will. And if you're getting confused on the words, you can ask me if your way of doing it is fine, because there is more than one way to write the words. I really want to make sure this third column is where you feel really sure that you're getting it right. Okay? So there's the key. I will upload the back in case you want it as well, but you do not have to do it.